Jungkook, the infamous Mafia boss, is feared by many, but known to only a few cold calculator and ruthless. Nothing escapes his control except for one thing: Bayan, his sister best friend. The only person who never bows to him, never fears him, and never sees him the way the rest of the world does. For years he has watched her from the shadows, suppressing the dark obsession brewing inside him. But when an opportunity arises, he finally sees it, forcing her into his world where escape is impossible. Wayan was always close to Hyun, Jungkook's younger sister. They grew up together, sharing secrets, laughter, and dreams. But what she never knew was that a pair of dark, possessive eyes had been watching her all along. Jungkook had always been aware of Ryan's presence in his sister's life, the way she giggled freely, the way she comforted Hyun, and the way she carried herself with an innocence that was rare in his world. And every time she was around, an unsettling feeling took root in his chest, something raw, something dangerous. But he kept his distance until now, when she ended up living with them in his mansion under same roof since Hyun's birthday party. As soon as Ryan stepped into the grand mansion dressed in simple yet the party was in full swing, guests were laughing, music filled the air, and Hyun was too busy entertaining friends to notice the way. Jungkook's gaze never left Hyun. She was standing by the balcony, staring out into the city lights, oblivious to the way her life was about to change. Jungkook approached her, his presence so intense. You shouldn't be here alone, his deep voice murmured behind her. She turned to face him, blinking at the close proximity. I needed some air, she replied, trying to ignore the way his presence sent chills down her spine. His lip twitched into a smirk. Are you uncomfortable around me, Vayan? She swallowed. No, but you are intense, Jungkook chuckled darkly, tilting his head. You have no idea. Before she could respond, the sound of a commotion downstairs caught their attention. Jungkook's expression hardened instantly as his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen. One of his men had texted. A rival gang member spotted near the premise. His jaw clenched. He could not risk something happening to her. Without another word, he grabbed her wrist. You are coming with me. What? Where? I need to keep you safe. His grip tightening slightly, his dark eyes flickering with something unspoken. Wine tried to protest, but his firm hold told her one thing: refusing with him wasn't an option. Jungkook led her inside, locking the door behind them. Wine turned to him, confused. Jungkook, what is going on? He exhaled, running a hand through his dark hair. You don't need to know, just stay here. Her eyes narrowed. I cannot just. You will, he cut her off, stepping closer. I cannot have you running into danger. She scoffed, I am not your responsibility. A dangerous gleam flashed in his eyes. You are, her heart pounded. Because I am Hyun's friend. Jungkook let out a humorous chuckle. That is what you think. He leaned down, his lip barely an inch from hers. You were mine before you even realized it, Hyun. She inhaled sharply, stepping back, but Jungkook was faster, his hand wrapped around her waist, pulling her flush against him. Stop running from me, he murmured, his lip brushing against her ear. Why Shiva, you don't owe me. Jungkook smirked, not yet, and at that moment she realized there was no escaping him. Wayan wasn't sure when things started to change. Maybe it was the way Jungkook always found a reason to be near her. How he stood too close, spoke too softly, and looked at her like she was the only thing that mattered. Or maybe it was the way he teased her mercilessly, making her fluster with just a smirk. She wasn't sure. All she knew was that ever since that night at the Jeon estate, Jungkook had made his mission to get under her skin. One morning at the Jeon mansion, when she woke up, her best friend was nowhere to be found. Instead, she found herself in the grand dining hall, greeted by none other than Jeon Jungkook. Dressed in black slacks and a crisp white shirt with the top buttons undone, he sat at the head of the table, sipping his morning coffee like a king in his palace, his dark eyes lifted lazily to meet hers. Morning, sweetheart. His voice was a deep rumble dripping with amusement. Why and frowned. Where is Hayum? Jungkook leaned back in his chair, watching her intently. She had an early class, her brows furrowed, and she didn't wake me. He smirked. Maybe she thought you would be more comfortable waking up to me instead. Ryan scoffed, rolling her eyes. I doubt that. She walked toward the kitchen, but before she could grab anything, Jungkook stood up and reached for a plate, effortlessly fixing her breakfast plate. Her eyes widened. You don't have to. He placed the plate in front of her, tilting his head. Eat. Ryan hesitated. Jungkook. He smirked, leaning down slightly so close that his breath fanned against her cheek. What, afraid you might start liking how I take care of you? Ryan cheek warmed. I know. Jungkook chuckled, satisfied with her reaction, then said it reluctantly. She obeyed, but she could feel his eyes on her the entire time. Damn him. Days passed and the teasing never stopped. Every time she was around, Jungkook had something to say. Wearing that dress for me, sweetheart. Don't pout, it makes me want to kiss you. Why do you run every time I get too close, scared of what you might feel? And the worst part, she was starting to feel something, the heat of his stare, the way her skin tingled when he brushed past her, the way his deep voice sent shiver down her spine. This was dangerous. One evening at a private dinner, Hayum had invited a few friends over, but Jungkook, being Jungkook, was the real problem. As soon as she entered the dining hall, his eyes devoured her. Wayan was wearing a simple satin dress, nothing too extravagant, but the way Jungkook gaze darkened made her feel like she was wearing nothing at all. You are staring, she muttered as she took a seat across from him. Jungkook smiled, tilting his head. I was admiring. Wayan rolled her eyes, try being less obvious. He chuckled. Why does it make you nervous? She grabbed a glass of water, trying to ignore the way his gaze lingered on her lips as she took a sip. The night continued with light conversation, but every time she laughed at someone else's joke, she felt his stare, like he was waiting for her to look at him, and when their eyes did meet, something passed between them. Days passed that night. It was late. Everyone had gone to bed. Ryan had stayed behind to clean up after dinner. But as they turned to leave the kitchen, she bumped into a hard chest. Strong hands gripped her waist, steadying her. Her breath hissed. Jungkook, he was too close. His dark eyes flicked with amusement as he looked down at her. You are always running into me, sweetheart. Ryan swallowed. Maybe you should stop standing in my way. Jungkook chuckled, but there was something different about his gaze tonight, something deeper. I don't think I want to, he murmured, brushing a stray strand of hair behind her ear. Ryan stiffened at the gentle touch. Jungkook, he smirked. You say my name so sweetly. Ryan's heart pounded as he leaned in slightly. You like teasing me, don't you? I like seeing you react to me. She stepped back, but his grip on her waist tightened. Why, Jungkook? Exhaled, his voice dropping into something softer. Because I like you, Ryan. Her breath caught in her throat. Jungkook's eyes never left hers as he brushed his thumb against her cheek. And I think you like me too, Ryan froze. I don't. Jungkook smirked, lie to yourself all you want, sweetheart. He leaned down, his lips ghosting over her ear. But you are already mine, Ryan shivered, and for the first time she realized maybe she had been his all along. Now that Jungkook had given her a hint of his feeling, he wasn't going to stop. If anything, he was going to make sure Ryan had no choice but to accept the trust. She was his, even if she didn't realize it yet. Ryan was in Hyun's room, scrolling through her phone when suddenly she felt something, or rather someone. A shadow loomed over her, the air in the room shifting. Before she could react, warm finger brushed against her ankle. A jolt shot up her spine as she snapped her gaze downward. Jungkook, he was crouched by the bed, his strong hands gripping the edge of the mattress. His dark eyes locked onto hers like a predator studying its prey. Jungkook, she blinked. What are you doing here? He smirked, tilting his head. Hyun left. I figured I would keep you company. Ryan hesitated. I don't need company. Jungkook clicked, his tongue shifting close until his hand wrapped around her ankle. That is not what your body is telling me. Ryan's heart slammed against her ribs as his fingers slowly traced circles. She yanked her leg back. Jungkook, he chuckled, standing up to his full light, towering over her. Why do you keep running from me? I'm not running. Jungkook raised up really without warning. He leaned in, one hand pressing against the bed. His scent wrapped around her, intoxicating, overwhelming. Ryan's breath hit. Jungkook moved, his lips curled into a smile. Say please, her hands pushed against his chest, but he didn't budge. Instead, he grabbed her wrist, guiding it up to his beating heart. Feel that? His voice was low rumble. You make it worse, sweetheart. Ryan swallowed, struggling to maintain her composure. This was dangerous. This was Jungkook, and if she wasn't careful, she would fall hard, and it became his routine. Every chance he got, he was there, touching her, teasing her, making her feel like she belonged to him. A hand on her waist when he passed by, a firm grip on her wrist whenever she tried to escape his fingers, a low chuckle whenever she got flustered. It was unbearable, but the worst part, she liked it. One evening at a family dinner, everyone was gathered at the jeon estate. Ryan had tried to keep her distant from Jungkook, but of course he would not allow that. Just as she was about to sit beside her, a strong hand gripped her wrist. She gasped as she was yanked backward, straight into Jungkook's lap. A hushed silence fell over. Ryan's eyes widened as she realized what had happened. Jungkook had pulled her onto his lap, his arm wrapped securely around her waist, preventing her from getting up. Ryan's face turned scarlet. Jungkook, he murmured against her ear, his lip barely grazing her skin. Sit still, her pulse skyrocketed. Jeon, Jungkook, she greeted out, let me go. Jungkook smiled, resting his chin on her shoulder like it was the most natural thing in the world. Why, you are comfortable, aren't you? Before she could respond, his fingers brushed along her inner thigh, sending a jolt of electricity through her veins. Jungkook, she whispered harshly, people are watching. He chuckled, his breath fanning against her skin. Let them. Wayne clenched her face. This was unfair. He was winning, but two could play this game slowly. She turned her head, her lips dangerously close to it. If you don't let me go, she whispered, her voice sweet but deadly, I'll bite. Jungkook's mouth faltered for a fraction of a second, then his eyes darkened. You are making it worse, sweetheart. Wayne shivered, and she hated that she loved it. One night, Jungkook finally pushed too far. Ryan had enough. Jungkook is teasing her to end her. Every glance, every touch, every whisper word. She could not sleep. She could not breathe. She couldn't stop thinking about him. That night, she walked into the giant stress lounge only to find Jungkook sitting there, sipping whiskey like a king awaiting his queen. His gaze lifted, a slow smile spreading across his lips. Couldn't sleep, he mused. Ryan's hands clenched. We need to talk. Jungkook raised a brow. Oh, she swallowed, forcing herself to meet his gaze. You need to stop. Jungkook tilted his head, pretending to think. Stop what Ryan says, Bond. You know what? Jungkook chuckled, standing up. He was in front of her in two steps. Then he did something that made her entire body betray her. He caged her against the wall, one hand gripping the wall beside her head, the other tracing down her arm, leaving goosebumps in its wake. Vine's breath hissed. You want me to stop, sweetheart? Jungkook whispered, his lips pressing the shell of her ear. Vine's knees nearly buckled. Damn him, Because if I stop, his fingers gently tilted her chin up. His eyes were blazing, instant possessive. You'll miss me. Vines had stopped. Jungkook's thumb pressed the corner of her lips. He started shearing. You think you can run from me? His voice was deep, dangerous. I have already caught you, Ryan. Ryan trembled. Jungkook, say it, he whispered. Say, swallowed, say what? His lips curled into his mouth. That you are mine. The next morning, Ryan thought she had escaped him after last night. After his whispered demand, his thumb teasing the corner of her lip. She had run straight to Hyun's room, locking the door behind her. She barely slept, and now the morning sun streamed through the large windows, mocking her sleepless night. Hyun, blissfully unaware, stretched beside her. You look like a mess. Ryan groaned. Thanks, bestie. Rough night. Ryan stared. Did she look that guilty? Hyun smiled. Did my brother do something? Ryan froze. What? Hayum laughed. Relax. I mean, he does like to tease you a lot. Ryan swallowed, looking away. Understatement of the century. Hayum yawned, then jumped out of bed. Come on, we are going out today. Jungkook is driving us. Ryan said, snapped back. What? You heard me. And that was how, within an hour, Ryan found herself trapped in Jungkook's car. The luxury black car rolled smoothly through the city, but the tension inside was anything but smooth. Hayu was scrolling through her phone in the passenger seat, completely oblivious. Ryan, however, was hyper aware of every single thing Jungkook did, the way his finger flexed on the steering wheel, the occasional glance in the rearview mirror, his dark eyes burning into hers, the way his tongue flicked out to wet his lips like he was thinking about something sinful. Suddenly, his hand slipped to the gear shift, pressing against her thigh. Ryan stiffened. The touch was subtle but deliberate. She swallowed. It was just a touch, just his large, warm hand pressing slightly against her skin, but it was enough to send a jolt through her entire body. Ryan shifted away slightly, but she could feel his smirk without even looking at him. This man was going to be the death of her. After reaching the mall, Hayum dragged Ryan inside a boutique, started to try on dresses for an upcoming event, but Jungkook. He stared and not quietly. Every time Ryan stepped out in a dress, he was there, leaning against the wall, watching his dark gaze following every inch of fabric that clung to her skin. She tried to ignore him. She felt when she stepped out in a silk off-shoulder gown, his gaze dropped to her collarbone. His lips parted slightly, his finger twitched, and then, but by that one, he murmured. Ryan shivered. Hayum, still oblivious, clapped her hands. Great choice. Ryan wanted to scream. That evening, the Jeon family had a gathering at their estate. It was supposed to be casual, supposed to be normal, until Jungkook decided otherwise. Ryan was helping Hayum set the table when suddenly a warm breeze gusted against the back of her neck. She froze. Then a whisper, low, dangerous, intimate. You look beautiful tonight. She spun around only to find Jungkook standing way too close. His eyes gleamed with amusement. Ryan scowled. Personal space, Jungkook. He smirked. What is that? She glared, and then his finger ghosted over her wrist. Slow, deliberate, possessive. You are getting addicted to my touch, aren't you? He murmured. Ryan's heart slammed against her ribs. She snatched her hand away. Stop. His gaze darkened. Say please. Ryan's breath hissed. Not this again. Just then someone called for Jungkook and he finally stepped away. Ryan exhaled sharply. She had to get out of here before she lost herself completely. That night, as if the universe was playing along with Jungkook's game, a storm rolled in, heavy rain, power outrage, and somehow Ryan found herself alone in the library with Jungkook. The lightning flashed outside, illuminating his sharp, unreadable features. His gaze pinned her in place. You have been avoiding me, he said. Why slow? Ryan crossed her arms. Because you are impossible, Jungkook chuckled. That is not a reason, sweetheart. She took a second breath. Jungkook, he stepped closer, then closer until her back hit the boxer. Trapped, completely and utterly trapped. Why do you keep running? He murmured. Ryan swallowed. Because you make me feel things I should not. Jungkook still, then ever so slowly. He leaned in, his lips hovered over hers, teasing, tearing. Let me make you feel more. Ryan's breath caught. God help her. She wanted him, and he damn well knew it. Thank you for watching.